Before I get started, I want everyone to know that I spent my whole life dreaming for a moment where there was a reason for me to have a little baby mic near my mouth. So this is it. This is it. And I want to feel it. Janet Jackson vibes. Okay. So before I really get started, I want everyone to know that I have some unpopular opinions about care and wellness. I am not here to destroy your sacred self-care Sunday rituals, but I am here to challenge what and who you think you're helping the other 7 days a week, okay? Okay. So back in 2015, I was a bartender working and living in New York City. I was making upward to $65,000 a year. I was in amazing shape, and I led a very active social life. I partied hard and I traveled often. And when my friends back home on Long Island would ask me how I pulled it all off, my answer was always the same. I'm really good at self-care. I did. I absolutely believed that at the time. I meditated, I practiced yoga, I hydrated, I minded my business. I even had a website where I promoted self-care, wellness, and body positivity. To the outside world, I looked like someone who had their stuff together. But behind my well-curated facade was the truth that it was killing me. For starters, my living situation sucked. My humble earnings were no match for New York City real estate. And so the best living arrangement that I could pull off was a 2-bedroom share with a roommate that I'm pretty sure wanted to kill me. We did not get along. And even though I was a really good bartender, my dream was to become a writer. But I was a high school dropout. And so after years of bitterness and rejection, I came to believe that there was no hustle for me outside of waiting tables and slinging drinks. And then as if all of that wasn't enough, the dark side of the industry was starting to weigh on me. Statistics have proven that up to 80% of women in the food service industry at one point or another are on the receiving end of sexual assault. And unfortunately, I am not the exception. In the 20 years that I was in the industry, I was on the receiving end of several types of discrimination, abuse, both physical and verbal, as well as sexual assault. So when I wasn't working and I wasn't practicing self-care, I was doing every and anything to numb myself from the reality that had become my life. I tried really hard to keep it together, but eventually the facade cracked. I had to quit my chic job in New York City and move back home to Long Island with my family. I came back feeling deflated and defeated. I spent my entire adulthood in an industry, and the only thing I had to show for it was a bad back. But what I did learn is that if I was gonna get serious about getting well, I was gonna have to identify my needs and figure out how far I was willing to go to get them met. There's a small town in Miami called Little Havana. It's mad hood, but it's also relatively safe. Back then, there were apartments that went for less than $1,000 a month, and it was super close to the beach. I used to hang out at my parents' house and envision what life would look like for me if I didn't have to work so hard for what came easily for so many others. I imagined myself chilling out on the beach every day, writing and reading and eating fresh fruit. The more I dreamed, the braver I got. That same social media platform that I used to make my friends gag over my fake life became a sounding board to be honest with how unwell I was. I got real. I talked about my challenges that I couldn't overcome. And I also admitted that I was pretty sure I knew what I needed. I just couldn't get it on my own. It was the first time that I was being honest about needing help. What I didn't know back then was I put so much pressure on myself, which is something that the wellness industry does. It makes us believe that if we want, need, desire things, we can get it. And if we can't get it, it's because you didn't want it enough. It creates shame. It creates anxiety. It creates sadness. Eventually, I had a friend who offered to facilitate a fundraiser so I can get back on my feet. I was hesitant at first, but I was also desperate, and so I said yes. And within 1 week, a collective of organizers and activists throughout the country, many of whom I never heard of, fundraised $5,000 that I used for first, last, and security on a cute, adorable studio in Little Havana. In just 1 week, I managed to pull off, with help, something I couldn't do my entire adulthood. Now, the first 6 months were not easy. There was a lot of struggle involved. But with support, with help, with friendship, not only was I able to finally transition out of the food service industry and become a full-time writer and editor. I'm really good too, thank you. But I was also able to get therapy. I was also able to care for my body in the ways that it needed. And that dream that I had of chilling out on the beach all day was a reality that I was proud to live. For a really long time, I was filled with so much gratitude, but I also felt like I discovered a secret that the wellness industry didn't want us to know, that the real key to bliss is not just in the caring of self, but in the ways in which we care for each other. At the end of the day, there is no form of self-care that is going to help us navigate racism, poverty, and all the other societal hardships that hold us down. We're not supposed to go through any of that stuff, but we're definitely not supposed to go through it alone. In the spirit of paying it forward, I created a project called Casa de Tame. I used the same strategy of digital fundraising to fly out several activists and organizers to stay at my house for what I called a ghetto retreat. For 3 days, it was mad hood. For 3 days and 4 nights, we spent time together. We unpacked our traumas, we talked, we journaled, we hydrated, and we got honest about the ways in which we needed help. And it was through that process that I realized the transformative power of community care. Only a few years after that, I was signed with a book deal, and I knew exactly what I was gonna write about: hood wellness. Rather than just center myself, I wanted to find my tribe, people like me that were so hungry for connection, so desperate for a leg up, that we were willing to get real, and we were willing to get well together. That's how I found out about Joshua Dixon. He's a 20-year-old photographer and podcast host, as well as a force of nature. He's from the south side of Chicago. And when Joshua was 8 years old, he was involved in a very unfortunate pit bull attack that resulted in the loss of 80% of his face. Overnight, he went from a young, carefree child to a tiny baby human that was at the subjection of the medical people who don't always take the best care of us. But fortunately, Joshua was loved up on. And the same people that nursed him back to health are the individuals that clapped for him when he graduated high school. I asked Joshua, how is it possible that someone that's gone through so much pain, so much frustration, the level of bullying that he experiences every single day he leaves the house, how do you still tap into the love? And he said without hesitation, it's because of the community that surrounded me. Another friend said the same thing. Her name is Lydia Joyce. She's a Memphis-based activist. And when Lydia was diagnosed with HIV, her first reaction was to find her people. What she didn't know was that, unfortunately, Black women, as well as other marginalized genders, are sorely underrepresented in the HIV community. Instead of just dealing with it, she decided to become the community that she yearned and used her platforms for education, for treatment, as well as outreach for other Black women who have been diagnosed. I asked Lydia, you could have kept it quiet. You could have just worried about yourself. What encouraged you in such a cold, cruel world to take your testimony and use it to help other people? Her answer still sticks with me to this day. She said, besides the fact that I had to be the community that I didn't have, I had to leave space behind me so there were other sisters that could come along. I know, right? That is the key to communal care. It's about being of service. It's about being purposeful. It's about being safe to say, I need help. Being bold enough to say, I can give it to you. Again, I am not here to disrupt your self-care. I still practice it daily. However, we need more. And while giving financially is awesome, and as the recipient of a dope apartment in Miami, I am not here to tell you to stop giving. As a matter of fact, give me your money. But if you're not going to, I want you to get creative in the ways that you're showing up for other people. Because community care is not just about being a friend. It's about being of service. And the key to Hood Wellness is that it doesn't matter where we're from. It doesn't matter what you've got. It matters where you are, and it matters what you're willing to give. And so this is my call to you, that I invite you to join us in a mission of getting well together. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.